Hello everyone, Kids Coding Life here. My name is Daniel, and today we're going to do the third lesson of Copper Cube. We're teaching you how to do lighting and post effects. Let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so the first thing you want to do is open up Copper Cube. In this case, I'm just going to go to my Windows search here. I'm going to type it in. If you do not know how to install Copper Cube, just go to the link in the description so you can see the first video in the playlist and click the first lesson. I'll show you how to install it. But in this case, I already have Copper Cube installed, and I'm going to show you all types of lighting and post effects. So as you can see here, we have our default cube. If you do not know how to look around or move around, you should always check out the previous videos in the playlist. But in this case, we do know how to move around. And I'm just going to show you how to do proper lighting. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to delete our default cube here, and we're going to create a room. Now, rooms are the best for creating lighting, because that's where most players are going to be, in the room. So we're just going to hit the room button, and here you get popped up with this window. And you could click the clear button and clear all of this. You could customize it to whatever you want. For now, we're just going to do a little walkway in, and then we're going to make a little room area, like a square room, kind of like that. And remember, you always want to put walls on your room, or else you have a room with no walls. So, just we'll quickly create a wall here, like that, like a border surrounding the room. And yes, you will mess up. If you do mess up, you're fine. You just have to click the clear button, you're good. Just drag it, and you have your room. Click OK, and now we got our gigantic room with a walkway. How wonderful. So, to create lighting, first things first, we don't want it to look like daytime outside. Let's say we want this room to be a creepy room. Let's say we want this room to be a bright room. We're going to delete our startup skybox by clicking this, and we're just going to go ahead and right click and click delete. So now, as you can see, our skybox is gray. And let's say we want it to be sunset, so we will go down here to our prefabs area, and we will click sunset skybox. If you do not like where everything's located now, you could always take it and you could drag it wherever you want. Let's say I want my prefabs to go right here. Now we have all of our list of prefabs right here on our right hand side instead of down here. So you could customize this to whatever you want. But for now, I'm just going to use the default layout. Alright, so we have our sunset skybox. We have our room here. So how do we give it dynamic lighting? This is what I'm going to call it. Dynamic basically means in-depth, really good lighting. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and select on our little house here, or room. We're going to select it, and you could see we have all these green boxes. Then we're going to go over to materials. We're going to click materials, and you could see we have all of our textures listed right here. So for now, what we're going to do is we're going to click this drop down, and we're going to go to dynamic. And you could see immediately our room turns black because we do not have any lights inside of it. So in order to create a light, you click point light, and as you can see, that creates a light for us right next to us. So now you could move our light around, and you could see that the room is nice and lit up now. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and put our light on the ceiling, because that's usually where lights go. And there are no light bulb prefabs to default with. You can download some online, but I won't be going into that today. So for now, we just won't have any light bulbs. We'll just have lights. And we have our first light here. Now, I think this light is a little dim. You can barely see anything with this light. So how do we increase the brightness? You go to attributes, and then you go to radius here, and you'd increase the radius. I'm going to do 100. And you can see our light gets a lot brighter, and we can see a lot more. So now we have one light, but usually rooms have multiple lights. So we're just going to go ahead and copy and paste this. So we're just going to click Control C to copy it, and then we're going to go ahead and drag it like this. Just like that. And now we have a nice and bright room with two lights in it. And as you can see, our ceiling is still dark. Our ceiling's not lit up. To fix that, it's easy. All you have to do is you're going to go ahead and select one light, okay? And then we're going to go ahead and hold down the shift key and select the other light. Now what that'll do is that'll select both lights, so then you can move both lights at the same time. So we're just going to bring them lower to the ground, so then you could see the rest of the roof, just like that. And now we got our lights on the ceiling, we got lights on the floor. We'll just bring them up a bit, and now we got our lights inside of our house too. Now, what if we want to change the color of the lights? Let's say we don't like this white being this white. We'll take the light, and we'll just go to our attributes in our properties. Make sure it's selected. Click on the light. Go to attributes. Then under item specific, go to color. Then you could click these and select it, and then you could these three dots should pop up. So you just click on it, and you could change it to whatever you want. Let's say I want my light to be a yellowish hue, because that's an orangey hue, because that's usually what lights are. So we'll go ahead and bring the slider. You could choose from default options, or you could use this here. So just do that, and we will click OK. And you can see our light changes color. Now let's say we want this light to be a deep blue, like a really dark blue. Then we could just click the dark blue here, and click OK. And as you can see, our light becomes dark blue. But we don't like that. Dark blue is too dark for me. So what we could do here is usually different lights don't have the same color temperature. So we usually just want to kind of change it up a bit just to make it look realistic. And you can see this light is a little bit whiter than the other light, but we still have realistic lighting here. All right, let's go ahead and test out our map. To do that, we're going to go up here to the create section and click camera. That'll pop up with this dialog. You just want to create a first person shooter camera. This is gonna make it a first person camera, so you're seeing what the player's seeing. And we're gonna click OK. And as you can see, our player spawns. Now, we do want to save this. So if our computer crashes or CopyCube decides to not respond, we could always load it back up again. Or if you close out the program, you can load up the project. So to do that, we're going to go up to File, Save As, and then we're going to save it where we want to save it. So let's just put it in our Kids Coding Live folder here. You could put it in your downloads, whatever folder you want. And I'm just going to name it Test 2. Of course, all of this map will be linked down in the description below, so then you could just click on the link and download the file for yourself and open it up in CopyCube. All right. Now we have our saved scene. Control S, by the way, if you want to quickly save your scene. So we got our scene here. Let's go ahead and test it out. To test it, we're going to go up to the publish button here, click on it, and then make sure this says publish as windows.exe, and then we're going to click this button. And as you can see, we can now play our game. WASD, or the arrow keys to move around, and you could use your mouse to look around. So as you can see, we have our nice room with dynamic lighting. So what is the difference between static and dynamic? As you can see, dynamic makes the scene so much nicer by using custom lighting that you put in your scene. Static is basically just the texture. There's no custom lighting, there's nothing. It's just the texture. Dynamic, if we go ahead and switch over to dynamic, you can see it uses the lighting engine. It uses all the custom lighting. So that's why when you create a game, you never want to use static. You only want to use static when you're actually making your scene. You always want to use dynamic when you're actually publishing your scene to the web or wherever you're going to publish it to. So that's the difference. Now we're going to get into our scene post effects. Now, unfortunately, this feature is only available with CopyCube Pro, but since I have that, I'll be able to use it. And you will too, but you just won't be able to publish the scene. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go over to our scenes section. And once you click that, you should see new 3D scene 1 because that's the default scene. And we're going to go all the way over to scene post effects. And we're going to click on it. This dialog will pop up. And I'll go over what each of these mean. So bloom kind of makes it look like it's in a dream. Now, yes, you can change a lot. You could change the effects and what it looks like. So if we want to just change it to, want to blur it a bit more, let's change it to 10. You could see how it blurs it a bit more. And this bloom threshold is basically the intensity. So if I change it to if I change it to 0.1, you could see it blooms a lot, and if we change it to 10, it blooms very little. Alright, so we're going to turn that off, and you could see since we're on 10, we can't really notice a difference because 10 is like the max. So the higher you go, the less bloom you'll see. So right now I'm going to put it as 0.1, so we got a lot of bloom. It looks like we're in a very, very mystical dream. Alright, we're going to turn bloom off now, and we're going to turn black and white on. Now this will make it look like it's on an old TV. Usually you want to use this for horror games, if you want it to be black and white. Now we have the inverted colors. That'll just make it all inverted. It'll make it all weird. I don't see what you could use this for, but I think it's kind of cool. Blur. This will kind of just blur out your whole scene. Now you could change blur iterations. So let's say we want to make it 15. You could see the higher it goes, the more blurry it gets. Let's say we want it to be very little blurry. We could go back to 1. Colorize. What this will do is you could change the scene to a custom color. So as you can see, we have our lights, but then when you go to colorize color, we could change the color of the scene to whatever we want. Usually you want to do this for an ambient color. And usually an ambient color would be a lightish blue. So what I'm going to do is we're going to change it to a lightish blue. And this is kind of what you'd use it for. Alright, the last thing is vignette. So we'll just go ahead and tick it in. And you could see these kind of black borders go on the corners of our screens. Now this will basically give you kind of like a tunnel vision kind of look, and you could of course change everything you want about here. Now I do encourage you, and although I'm not going to go over what each of the properties mean, I do encourage you to play around with it yourself. Alright, so I'm just going to turn all of them on, so you can see what it looks like. Kind of like that. It looks really weird, and you could barely see anything. So when you go to publish, and you can click the play button, if you do not have CopperCube Pro, there would be a dialog that pops up saying the post effects feature is only for CopperCube Pro. And then there's going to be an OK button so you could test it. And as you can see, we got our scene post effects, and we could walk around our scene with this very, very scary looking vision here. It looks as if we're in some sort of camera that barely works. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much everything about lighting and post effects. Of course, you could do directional light, and this directional light is usually used as a sun, so you usually just want to drag it up there, and the directional light is almost always used just kind of as a sun, so you don't have to have these individual lights lighting up your whole scene. You could have one main sun kind of shining down, and then you could use lights a little bit to light up the scene or change the color of the scene a little bit more. Alright, I think this wraps it up. Thank you everybody for watching, I appreciate you. And if you made it this far, please hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss any more of my videos. Next up will be how to publish your game to the web. I appreciate you, and I'll see you again soon.